Welcome to World Without You, a Sims 4 story inspired by Belinda Carlisle songs. Songs are part of the playlist but are not in my videos. In my video, I'll ask you to open her song links in a separate window at key points to act as soundtrack music to the scenes I have made in The Sims 4. May not work on a phone because two videos need to play simultaneously. The songs are linked from the official Belinda Carlisle YouTube page at this link. Why Belinda Carlisle? I was recently listening to some music and hadn't listened to hers in a while, and felt that she has a lot of music that many people may not know she has. Not all songs from albums get released, and some of hers weren't released everywhere when new. She also has a brand new song out called Big Big Love. My hope is to bring her some new fans who may enjoy and wish to purchase her music. I currently do not have a monetized channel, but I would not be monetizing this content in any way if I did. While listening, I was inspired to make this story, like a TV show with a theme song or a movie with a soundtrack. However, I cannot add her music into my videos for copyright reasons, so in order to have the soundtrack music, I will make this series using playlists, one for my Sims 4 scenes and one with Belinda's music links. Scenes will involve my voice dialogue followed by scenes with her music playing during as soundtrack, for those who can play two videos at the same time. For the opening scene, we're going to test playing Belinda's music in a separate window while you watch what I recorded in Sims 4. If you're on a phone, you might not be able to play two videos at the same time. You might need to borrow a phone. Belle has just returned home after going out to celebrate her 21st birthday. As she enters, she hears the sound of a piano being played in the back room. She enters to find it's her mother, Tiffany Grace, who is beginning to play and sing a song that seems familiar, but she can't quite remember why. That was beautiful, Mom. Happy birthday, Belle. If only it were happy. Kevin and I broke up today. I'm so sorry to hear that, Angel. Breakups are really the worst. Really, Mom? You broke up with someone? I haven't heard this story. Well, there was one time, but I don't want to bore you with those details. It was a long time ago. Besides, we've got some celebrating to do. Mom. Out with it. I want to hear the details. What happened? Did you break up with him or did he break up with you? Was he cute? You don't really want to know about this. Besides, I'm not even sure if I remember it all right. Now let's go have some cake. Come on, Mom. You gotta tell me. Please? Oh, come on. I don't want to talk about this. Now let's go make a cake and I've got a little something special for you afterward. No way, Mom. I'm gonna sit here and play this piano like a kid until you agree to tell me. I can see you're just as stubborn as your mother. Okay, I'll tell you. You got that right, Mom. Belle, you make the frosting, I'll make the cake. Okay, Mom. So what was his name? Grant Dobbs. Wow, what a funny name. You're telling me. Wow, this looks good, Mom. Think we did a good job on this one. Yeah, something about cake. Even when you're down, it tastes great. Really makes you feel better. It sure does, Mom. So where'd you get this wine, Mom? Oh, I've had it for 21 years. I got it the day you were born. Happy birthday, sweetheart. You mean you didn't open it? You and Daddy didn't drink any? Sweetheart, that's another story. Well, you're gonna have to tell me that one too, Mom. I guess you're right. I guess I need to tell you everything. You didn't tell me how your audition went, Belle. Don't you have some packing to do? Well, Mom, the breakup happened right before the audition, so I didn't go. I hope you're not too disappointed. I would never be disappointed in you, Belle. I love you and I support everything you want to do. You don't know how happy that makes me to hear you say that. Oh, trust me, I've been there. I had a mother who wasn't very supportive. Really? Grandma didn't support you? Sounds like another story I haven't heard yet. You gonna tell me about this too? Well, it is part of the same story. I might as well go back to the beginning. So, Belle, do you want to be a singer? I don't know, Mom. It might take some time. I gotta think about it. You know, Mom, I've been meaning to ask you, why did you name me after that cartoon character? You know that movie with the singing teapot and the flower in the jar? That's not who I named you after, Belle. Really, Mom? All this time I thought it was that cartoon character. And so did kids in school. They used to make fun of me. I named you Belle Linda. So where did you come up with that if it wasn't the movie character? Gotta be some story behind that. You know, it's funny you mention fairy tales. This one's kinda like The Ugly Duckling. So I hope you're ready, Belle, 'cause this is gonna be a long story. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Tiffany Grace Hilliard. She was the daughter of Neil and Debbie Hilliard, and she had an older brother named Tommy James. And her best friend was Ivy Jade. Her dad loved music. Your grandfather would dance with us and play his old records, and we'd have a ball. But then one day he died, and he wasn't there. And it made Debbie really sad. And Debbie didn't want to listen to the music. She got angry and told us to stop playing those records. She didn't want to hear them anymore. I tried to tell her that they were Dad's records, but she didn't want to listen to that. She said to stop playing them or she'd break them. Ivy said not to worry. We could go over to her house and listen to the music there. That year for my birthday, she got me a portable CD player so I could listen to music with headphones and my mother wouldn't have to hear it. It was the best gift I'd ever been given up to that point. One day while walking home from school, I passed by a house that was having a rummage sale, and they had several CDs for sale, and some of them were by an artist named Belinda Carlisle. I heard she was with a band called the Go-Go's before. My dad had listened to a few of their records, but I didn't really know much about them or her. But when I started listening to her music, I couldn't help but sing along. You see, I had a voice that was harsh and deep, and I still do. But my mother made it worse. She caught me singing. Tiffany Grace Hilliard, stop that god-awful racket right now. We're making an appointment with the doctor right this minute. He says he can see us tomorrow. Uncle Donald was a doctor, but he was also a quack. He's the only doctor my mother ever took us to. And he wasn't the best at researching. He'd give an opinion, and that's what it was. And there was no chance of a second opinion with my mother. He barely did any tests, but his diagnosis was that I had a vocal cord dysfunction and that I should not be singing ever. And he didn't know very much about treatments. He didn't offer much help. It just simply said no singing and left it at that. I tried my best to argue, but my mother wasn't having it. No singing, and that was final. As always, Ivy was there to comfort me. She made a deal that she wouldn't sing along to the radio either, and keep me safe from hurting my voice. Ivy didn't have any Belinda Carlisle CDs, but occasionally some of her songs would come on the radio, like Mad About You and I Get Weak and Heaven is a Place on Earth, and we'd dance to those. And sometimes I would accidentally start singing along, and she wouldn't get upset. She'd just kind of join in, and she didn't mind my voice. I never told her about the Belinda Carlisle CDs. I had a special hiding spot for 'em where I could listen to 'em. There was an abandoned restroom in the park nearby. I hid my CDs in the bush, and then I would go inside and listen, and I would sing, and no one ever caught me. Ivy didn't seem to like Belinda. She would always complain that they played her songs over and over again, always the same songs. I just didn't feel I could tell her. Kids at school would tease me and call me Frog whenever they heard me talk, but Ivy was always there for me. She really was my best friend. We could talk about just about anything. Almost anything. So now, my darling daughter, let's get to the subject of Grant Dobbs. You asked about who broke my heart? Well, he's the one. He was my first love. I was crushed when he broke up with me. What happened? Well, my dear, I said I was having a hard time remembering, but I've got everything here in this little black book. So, as I mentioned, other kids would make fun of me because of my voice and call me Frog. Ivy and I would sometimes take a shortcut through the gym. She said it was so we could get to class sooner, but I think she liked looking at the jocks. One day, Byron Polito and Jimmy Larimore started in on me, calling me Frog and making fun of me. Ivy did her best to try to defend me, but they just wouldn't stop. They were relentless. Come on, Frog, let's see you jump. How high can you go? Can you catch some flies? Your voice probably scares the flies away. They just wouldn't stop. And then I heard, leave her alone, you creeps. Both of you apologize to her right now or I will tell the coach. Stop being jerks. They both apologized. I couldn't believe it. Are you ladies okay? Eh, I guess so. Thanks a lot. You really saved me. No problem. It's what a captain of the basketball team should do. You ever need help, I'll help you. I'm sorry about those two. They get a little carried away at times. You call that carried away? Those two jerks. They did apologize. You're right. Thanks to you. I'm sorry, I'm just a little upset. People have been teasing me and calling me Frog for years. It's getting a little old. There's nothing I can do about it. It's okay, I would be upset too. By the way, I'm Grant Dobbs. I'm the captain of the basketball team. Duh. Everybody knows that. And you're Tiffany? Yes, Tiffany Grace. Tiffany Grace Hilliard. I think Ivy was getting a little jealous, so she just had to step in and introduce herself. You both live on Ardmore Street, don't you? Yes, we do. I live just around the corner on Covington. We've seen you there. Maybe we can all walk home together when I don't have basketball. I'm starting drama class this week. It's every night, so I guess you two will be walking alone. I guess it's just the two of us then, Captain Hero. That night, I must have wrote 15 pages in my diary. I would write and write, and then I'd think I'd be done, and I'd open it back up and write some more. I forgot to do my homework. I was so busy writing in my diary. I'd never felt that happy. Someone besides Ivy was being nice to me. I was on cloud nine. So the next day, he walked me home. Ivy was busy with her drama rehearsals, so she never could walk with us. Some days he had basketball, so I walked alone. But every night, I'd come home and write some more in my diary. It was always something good to write. It was a good time. I never did introduce him to my mother. I didn't want him being part of her world, nor her being part of his. And I never told him about the music. I wouldn't dare sing around him or his friends. It's just not something that I would do. I was too scared. Now that I look back upon it, I don't recall having listened to much during that time. I was too busy with him. I was waiting for him to take it to the next step, beyond just walking me home. But he didn't make any moves. I wanted more. I needed more. So I decided to make the moves myself. And so I said to myself, it's time to go on offense. And then one day, I just stopped him. And I said, hold it there a second, Captain Hero. I said, here, you better catch this pass. He was like a deer in the headlights. And I blew him a real flirty kiss, which he really enjoyed. And then I kissed him. He said, wow, where did that come from? I said, she shoots, she scores. Couldn't believe it, I had actually kissed him. I whispered to him, looks like I hit the game-winning shot. I don't remember what we said after that. Time seemed to stand still. I thought, this is it. I'm gonna be married and be happy. Funnily enough, I don't have a whole lot written for that day. I had a hard time writing what I was feeling that night. And then I found myself alone. The basketball team made the playoffs, so he had games several nights in a row. I barely saw him. I thought maybe I'd cheer myself up and buy myself a new dress to surprise him the next time I walked with him. But as I came out of the store, it was pouring rain. Didn't really cheer me up. I just couldn't shake the feeling. I don't even know if I was missing him or just confused. I was really out of it. I tried reading my diary to try to remind myself of how I was feeling a few weeks earlier. It seemed to help a little bit. And then I heard that the team had lost and they were out of the playoffs. I would see him the next day. When I came out of school the next day, he wasn't there waiting for me. I caught up to him on my street and I said, hey Grant, sorry about the game. You should be sorry, it's all your fault. We lost because of you. Hold on a minute, what do you mean my fault? Don't play dumb with me. You mean you haven't heard what happened? No, I haven't heard what happened. Why is this my fault? I wasn't at the game. That jerk on the other team said I was a frog kisser. What are you talking about? I wasn't there. Yeah, well, Jimmy was closer to the guy and he started arguing with him. And then he said, hop back to the swamp, you toad licker. And so I hauled off and hit him. And then Byron hit another guy. And we both got ejected. And we lost the game. And it's all your fault. I wasn't there. You're the one that kissed me. I didn't tell you to kiss me. I didn't ask you to kiss me. You didn't stop me from kissing you either. I was just being your friend. I didn't want a relationship. Well, you don't have to worry about me kissing you no more, 'cause we're not even friends anymore. Are you happy now? Yes, I'm ecstatic. I don't have to kiss a frog anymore. How could you? How could you call me that? Go home, frog. It's over. I don't want to see you again. I was in shock. How could he? How dare he? I thought he cared. Maybe he didn't love me, but I thought he at least cared. How could he say that? It wasn't my fault. What did you do, Mom? I I just kind of started walking. I tried to call Ivy, but she must have been busy rehearsing. I went to the only place I could go. I went to my secret place to get my music. I must have listened to Belinda's Fool for Love song at least 20 times, and then my battery ran out. I got up, shouted a few choice words, and then I went out and I must have laid on the ground staring up at the moon for at least an hour. And then Ivy called me, and she said to come on over. And so I did. I'm so sorry, Tiff. Come on over on the bed and tell me what happened. And so I told her everything about what he had done and what he had said. She couldn't believe it. But boy, was she upset when I told her what he had said to me and that he called me Frog. She wanted to kill him. I might have let her. Let's see how he sounds after I punch him in the throat. Oh, don't do that. It'll only make things worse. Besides, he already got what was coming to him. Darn straight, bestie. So, Belle, you want to come try out for the next play we're doing? We need some dancers. I'm not an actor. That's okay. But we really could use some dancers. You'd be perfect. You dance awesome. Well, I might as well. I don't have anything else to do. Sounds fun. Yeah, and you get to hang out with me some more. Isn't that great? Sounds fun, Ivy. It took me a while, but I started writing in my diary again. I slowly began to realize what had happened. I wasn't in love, and neither was he. I was in love with the idea of being in love, I guess. I made up my mind that if I was going to love again, it needed to be real. No one was going to break my heart again. But life has many ways of breaking a heart, and I would soon find out one of them. And the real monster in this fairy tale would soon be revealed. Was Grandma the monster? No. Grandma was just sad after Grandpa died. She just was depressed, and she'd drink wine and watch classic TV most of the time, and sometimes she would get drunk. But she just kind of passed the time, and she just never got over him. It wasn't until years later that I really understood what she was going through. Something that you just can't explain to somebody, they have to feel it. I would watch TV with her, and sometimes I would have a glass of wine too. I kept her company. We still got along. I just never sang or played my music around her. I knew it upset her. I didn't tell her about trying out for the play. I had already told her once about how Ivy was trying out for plays and how she wanted to be an actress. And she made some comment about how that's such a dreamer's dream and nobody's going to become an actress, especially not anybody from our neighborhood. She should think about getting some serious job or raising a family. A few days later, I walked with Ivy down to the old Granville Theater. Our school auditorium had had a fire, so the Historical Society was letting us use the old Granville Theater. Mrs. Bird, this is my friend Tiffany Grace Hilliard. She'd like a tryout. Well, I reckon I got some time for one. Let's see what you got, young lady. I was so nervous until Mrs. Bird said I could use my own music, and I had brought some just in case. The music had stopped, but I was still singing and dancing. I didn't even notice that I was singing out loud, but only Ivy and the teacher had heard me. Young lady, you not only got a part, you got yourself the lead. Where did you get that music? I told her I found it in a thrift store. She said, That's perfect. I'm going to use that. I told her that I wasn't supposed to be singing and that I would get in trouble if I got caught singing out loud. She said, That's okay. I just need dancers. We'll use the music and y'all can dance to it. Ivy just kind of sat there. I think she was in shock. I don't think she had expected me to get the lead. I'm sorry, Ivy. I really wasn't trying to get the lead part. That's okay, Tiff. You danced your heart out. Besides, there'll be plenty of lead roles. It's not every day somebody tries out for the first time and gets the lead part. Well, I did say you'd be awesome. I wasn't wrong about that, was I? No, I guess you weren't. Besides, now that we're both in this show, it's really gonna kick butt. Well, y'all, don't be planning your curtain calls yet. We got a couple of problems we have to work out. What sort of problems? Anything we can do? Well, they went and cut my budget down to about 20% of what I was supposed to have. Now I gotta figure out how to put on this show with scraps. Maybe we can help. What show were you gonna make? Well, it ain't gonna be that one. I can tell you that. Sounds like we'll have to improvise with what we've got. I have a few ideas. Well, I reckon you do, and I'd love to hear 'em. Well, people love movies and plays with dancing and singing in the street. We've already got the music, we've already got the street, and we've got some dancers. I do believe you're right about that. We've got an opening number, we just need a closer, and something in between. Well, you just leave that to me. I know the perfect closing number, and I'm sure I can pick out a few others. We just need a little bit of magic. Ivy and I chatted with Mrs. Bird for a while, and we went over our ideas and came up with what seemed like a pretty good play. We only needed a few people to do the whole thing. We were just going to keep the story simple and just go with the flow. Something came up and Ivy had to go home early, but I stayed behind to chat with Mrs. Bird. Now there's a character for you, Mrs. Ellie Bird. She came from Texas and was involved in a lot of the pageants down there. She was very talented. I told her about how my mother forbade me to sing and that the doctor had said I shouldn't because of my condition. That's when she told me that back in Texas, there's a lot of moms that would force their daughters to sing even if they didn't want to. So there's lots of different ways to look at it. You know, Tiff, even the greenest grass can still grow weeds. She told me that one of her doctor friends would be coming to town in a few months and she'd have him check me out. She took me over to the piano and played a song for me. She was really amazing, too. I could tell she enjoyed what she did. Then she said, Tiff, you're going to learn to play this piano. We got to get you something to do. You got a lot of talent and I don't want to see it wasted. But before we start, I'm going to say something. I ain't going to force you to play this piano. You want to play it? I'll teach you. You ever don't want to be taught? We'll take a break. You can come back at any time. I'm going to support your decision. You can't force the music. It's got to come natural. Now look at that. You're picking that up super fast. I ain't going to charge you for these lessons. You just saved my behind with saving my show. I figure we're even. We'll do this every Monday night. A couple others if we can fit 'em in. I gave her the biggest hug I could give her. I said thank you, and I was on cloud nine again. I decided I was going to have some fun after school the next day. few weeks later, we did our play, Magic Street. Everyone loved it. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a hand for our young cast? Miss Tiffany Hilliard, Miss Ivy Jade, Mr. Dean Becker, and Miss Marissa Mendez. Thank you all for coming and have a great evening.